Hello, everybody. Thank you. I know we're a couple seconds late, but thank you so much for your patience and welcome back to TMR's Master Advisor series. Today is February 20th, 2025. I'm so excited we have a returning guest, Angela Hughes, on, who's going to talk to us a little bit about marketing to affluent clients. We're going to talk about the luxury industry in general. We have some AI stuff I want to get to as well because I know Angela's such a big resource for that. But I have a few announcements to make. We also have a sponsor for today's episode. Our sponsor unfortunately couldn't make it, so I'm going to read some copy for them. But let's go ahead and get started. A couple of things just want to run everyone through. Our last episode with Tom Carpenter, we spoke about terms and conditions. I know things are changing pretty regularly in travel and in the US and Canada, North America, sort of everywhere. Laws, regulations, travel rules, visas are all changing. We covered a lot with Tom last month. It was specifically on terms and conditions, on building in terms and conditions, but Tom really covered a lot for us. We were so excited to have him. I want to drop the link to that session in our chat right now, simply because I know people are going to be asking about it, and I know a lot of people are interested in watching it. That's going to take you to the YouTube page. Again, that page is going to be the home to all of our video, all of our audio content. This episode, if you want to rewatch it, will be up there later today or tomorrow morning. So we'll drop that in the chat when we have a second. And if you want to go ahead and bookmark it, you want to head over there anytime, please go ahead and do so. We're going to be on a regular schedule now going forward, so keep an eye out if you have Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time off. We would love to see you here. We love seeing so many people. I was reading the comments in the chat before we went live. I love this community, this interaction so much. So please keep an eye out for things. Keep an eye out for some marketing announcements for us. I hope to see you here as often as possible. And if you ever have a topic suggestion or a guest suggestion that you think would be good for this program, please go ahead and shoot me an email at dmccarthy@travelmarketreport.com. This is definitely a labor of love for us, this series, and I want to sort of make it as best we can in 2025 and really sort of keep the year going really strong. So with that out of the way, again, we were scheduled to have Anne-Marie Mabus from BranchUp join us today, tell us a little bit about BranchUp. Unfortunately, I know Anne-Marie was traveling back from Vietnam this week. We haven't heard from her. We hope the travel is going well for her. But I didn't want to start the episode and welcome Angela before mentioning a little bit about BranchUp because they are our partner and they're helping us bring us today's episode. So BranchUp, I know so many of you are familiar with BranchUp, but the BranchUp does the work for you. Be the recognized travel expert in your community with posts that truly resonate with your clients. That means you can spend your valuable time working with the customers, not searching for content. And from what I've spoken to Mike Drevers at BranchUp and Anne-Marie at BranchUp, that's sort of their big pitch, is that we're going to help you with your social media. We're going to take sort of unloving tasks away from you and let you do what you really love to do, and that's speak with your customers, sell travel, market travel, build your staff, whatever other tasks you have. BranchUp helps check one off your bucket list. So BranchUp is free for all travel professionals, and membership includes personalized, high-quality content automatically posted to your Facebook business page and LinkedIn. And I know how big of a platform LinkedIn is becoming, particularly finding affluent clients. I know a lot of corporate agencies use LinkedIn, but it seems like there's a big luxury affluent community growing on LinkedIn. So it's nice to see BranchUp has a big presence there as well. BranchUp also has a free email marketing newsletter with a personalized client newsletter. If you want to be a pro member for BranchUp, the cost is $149 per year and includes all the features of free membership plus personalized Instagram reels and posts, advanced post scheduling controls, an AI assistant to help create your own posts in seconds, and custom hashtags. Again, I've spoken to a lot of advisors using BranchUp. This is a sponsored session, but I know I've only heard good reviews about the company, and I know I've saved a lot of time. I believe Angela uses, so I welcome her in a second. She might be able to tell us a little bit about it, but we're really happy to be part of our BranchUp. We're really happy to have a continued partnership with Anne-Marie and Mike and the rest of the team there. So again, I know Anne-Marie could probably tell you a bit better than I could, but we're going to drop the links to the BranchUp in the chat. If you are interested, you can head over there and check it out there. Okay, so I see some questions in the chat about audio. Hopefully everything's okay. I'll have Tom, who produces the show, keep an eye on it. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really want to welcome our guest for today's session, someone who's been on here a number of times and someone we're really, really so happy to have, Angela Hughes, Trips and Ships, Luxury Travel. Angela, thank you so much for jumping on here
Thanks.
and being with us again. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I'm super excited to be here. And I do just want to put a plug in for BranchUp because I have been using them. I mean, I probably used them 4 or 5 years ago, didn't love them. Just recently went back to using them like a year ago because they've added so many amazing things. Their reels are so good for Instagram. I love them. And again, because they're automated, I don't have to think too much about it, but the reels are so good that we're getting really great response on that. And so I actually talked to BranchUp and they were like, what didn't you like about us? And I'm like, you guys have like done this glow up over the last 2 years. And so we're getting all of our agents back on them. So big shout out there.
Yeah, I know it's a big thing with agents and agency owners is making so many decisions and then having to make decisions to build your content, to become content creators.
Yeah.
And like you said, they do it for you and not having to think is
Yeah.
a big thing, it seems like. Yeah.
And I don't really love, automated post a lot of times, but the game changer for me was in the reels. I think automated posts sometimes look generic. Their reels are so good that I'm like, roll them all day long for me. And it's got our branding on the back end. So definitely a shout out to them. And I have everybody take a look at them. And I'm sure you're going to drop a link for people to find out where they're at and how to do it. It's been
Yeah.
a game changer for us. Yeah.
So Tom dropped a link in the chat. Elisa, I see we'll have a recording link sent to all the registers out today or tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. But Angela, before we came on, I saw so many great comments about you in the chat. I know some people know you. Do you want to take a second to just introduce yourself for maybe the very few people who might not know you on this call right now?
Oh, I think a lot of people don't know me, but I'm Angela Hughes. I'm actually the owner of Trips and Ships Luxury Travel. We're a host agency with about 140 people in my organization. We have agents all over the country. I'm still an active seller. I know that sounds like a drug dealer kind of, but I'm still I'm still selling. So I'm right there in the trenches with you guys, but I also in the host agency. And then I run my whole program, the Luxury Travel University, which is private consulting and speaking and, working with companies privately on that. So,
all right, yeah, and again, I know a lot of people know you, but it was nice to get the introduction. It is nice to hear you're also. I love that in the trenches term too. I think a lot of advisors really commiserate and really bond with that term. So that was nice to hear. Today we're talking about luxury. I'm hoping we can sort of kick off the conversation, Angela, with I want to hear your perspective on what's trending in the luxury travel space right now. What is hot, what's making moves, what is sort of driving client conversations like as we are in the second month of 25?
Yeah, I think it's actually shifted. I think this is a great conversation because what we saw as luxury 3 years ago is got like a brand new look on it. I think hyper personalization is huge. It's even getting more where people, we use the word curated. I don't even love that term, but people want like these hyper curated experiences now, from private yacht charters to like wellness. I mean, and that's huge. I just came off of a wellness cruise with Windstar. It was one of their first sailings where it was all catered towards wellness. And Windstar already does a whole thing with like vegan food and everything because their owner loves vegan food. But, they had a whole wellness specialist on there where we were doing yoga and meditation and everything really catered towards that. And then I think really like the ultra exclusive travel where people are doing more like, I want to do a whole buyout on a villa or a private island or an expedition yacht in the Galapagos. And then again, everything experiential, depending on whatever cultural landmark we're working with. And then of course, always sustainable and just regenerative travel, I think is always big.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of it is the prices have been so significant. Airfare is pretty high, so people are making an investment. The two things I think that stuck out in my mind when you were speaking, Lars, was exclusivity. People want an exclusive experience. They want to feel like they're paying for something that's exclusive to them. special, unique. And personalization seems like a big thing too. They want, if you're spending that much, you want a personal experience. You don't want a cookie cutter experience, whether it's from a supplier, a cruise line, whether it's from your advisor too. So that seems to be what's really driving luxury travelers right now.
Yeah. And then I think one other thing that I failed to mention was just spending generational money is continuing to just trend. We're just getting more and more requests for, taking the whole family of 50 to somewhere.
Yeah, that's a big trip. I'm sure a lot of people would want, a lot of advisors would want those family 50s, but I'm hearing that as well. I mean, again, I know people talk about generations a lot, and part of my mind thinks that some of those conversations are overblown, but I know that the boomers now, who are retiring or retired, have a wealth that they do want to spend, and it seems like travel is number one on their list when they're thinking about that money. Yeah. I want to ask you, Angela, there's been a couple of groups over the last few months that have leaned into this uber high net worth traveler. So not just the luxury traveler, not just the person maybe buying premium seats on an airplane or entering into business class, things like that, but the people who are uber wealthy, who are traveling in a very special way. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about your experience with them and maybe how they differ from the other segment of luxury clients.
Yeah, I love this question so much because I feel like when people pop into the travel industry, they're advisors come in with this mindset of like, I'm going to work in the luxury travel space. And really, most advisors are working in the premium and aspiring luxury travel space. And it's okay. I don't care how you call it or what you call it. That's okay. And that might be somewhere between the $15,000 and $50,000 marker. There is a whole industry of uber high net worth people who would be your tech professionals, meaning bought and sold a tech company, your private equity people, your CEOs, etc. I used to think I had high net worth people when I was selling my doctor and dentist, and they used to be like in the 2000s. That was rich America. Now we've created wealth in America that is really a step up in uber high net worth. So we have to define that a little bit different. But aspiring luxury is probably where 95% of our advisors could advance their career into that kind of level of selling. And I always tell advisors, like, don't get stressed out. Like, give yourself a raise by just enhancing your customer's trip. Like, sell them a suite. You can give yourself a 10% raise by just elevating the experience of the client that you've got right now. Not to confuse yourself with the uber high net worth, because that's a whole different crowd. They're spending possibly between 100,000 to, $1 million a year. Maybe, we've got clients that are spending 500,000 with us a year on personal travel. And a couple of things that differentiate them is time is like the biggest luxury for them. Okay. And I think that's the biggest luxury for anybody in America right now, is buying back your time. That's wealth for people. The exclusivity piece over the price sensitivity. You'll notice in aspiring luxury, again, maybe a $15,000 to $50,000 trip, aspiring luxury wants the feeling of luxury, but they don't want to be screwed on value either. And so you still could be going back and forth in negotiating what a price point is. People will spend in those categories if they find value in it. So I think in uber high net worth, they're the same way. I've had a person spend 500,000 with me last year, and they still took their kids on an NCL cruise because their kids wanted that and they wanted to go to Hawaii. Price point shocker for me, but kids wanted that. That's what they chose. Another key component with that is huge privacy and security. I just traveled with probably 25 tech founders to India last month. Like, I'm not posting anything about them. When I posted that I was in India, I even put out on Facebook, like, you're not going to see any pictures of the group. Most of them are not on Facebook. They don't want to be known. They don't want people. It's a security issue for uber high net worth people to be seen abroad. They could be kidnapped. They could be, so many things could go wrong when you're traveling with multi-quadrillionaires. The other thing is they're really expecting some insider access and VIP 24/7 around the clock access. So if you're an advisor who doesn't want to be always glued to your phone, it's not the industry for you. And like I said, I'm still in the trenches, but you're almost like a 24/7 concierge. They text you, and this literally happened last week. I'm at church on Sunday morning, and this guy's just hitting me on Uniworld, and he spent $28,000. And he's like, would it be better to talk tomorrow? And I'm like, well, I'm at church right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow would be great. No, he didn't say anything. He just kept texting me. So during Sunday school, I'm, trying to answer all the questions on text. So you've got to make sure that you're okay, because you're doing bespoke, you're doing once in a lifetime experiences. You might be planning a private dinner. You might be booking even just a Uniworld at 28,000. They expect immediate response, and you better be okay being glued to your text. I always am on speed dial text with my clients. And if that's not a way of life for you, it might not be the arena you want to be in. And
Okay.
it's okay. I love having that text relationship with them because it keeps it so personal for us.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but I think
Mhm.
I see Michelle in the chat saying her clients are sort of in, it seems like in that category too. 500K to 1 million a year on travel seems to be put them in that category.
Yeah.
But the first one, you talk about sort of the difference between aspiring luxury travelers and uber high net worth luxury travelers. It seems like for most of the advisors who maybe are not in this arena yet, who are wanting to sell luxury travel, the aspiring population seems to be a more feasible
Yeah,
client population to start in, right?
for sure.
Yeah,
So I think in the uber high net worth category, that mostly is a club that's really hard to get into, and you're going to grow into that. It's not like you're going to go out and market to that, because usually
yeah,
what happens is you obtain one from somewhere, and then they're telling their friends or they're referring within their own little network. It's super hard to just go out and be like, hey, I want my client avatar to make, 2 billion a year. And then, and just, they're not out looking for you. It's almost always on a referral basis. And then once you're in, it can move quite rapidly. And that's how I grew. So that can be discouraging for some, but where it starts is really in that aspiring category. Again, that $20,000 to $50,000 club of people. That's a really great place for all of you to be. Anybody can be in that market range. Um, so I don't want you to feel like, great, I don't have those friends, because I've always said this. I don't care if you live in 7 square feet in a trailer park. People can sell to the aspiring market, and that's going to be a place that everybody can be profitable in.
yeah, totally. And I know I listen to the earnings calls for all these public travel companies. They're all targeting that market. Like you mentioned, Angela, it seems to be their term is the premium market, the market that it's stepping up. And it seems because once they step up, they tend to step up again, and it seems like a great way to do that. So I have some questions in the chat I want to bring up.
Mhm.
One's from Lane. This one's about fees. I'm going to show it on the screen. Uh, but Angela, I guess when you mentioned 24/7, it seems overwhelming for a lot of people. And I'm curious, Lane's curious if you charge healthy fees, or I guess what I'm getting from this question is how worthwhile is it to be available 24/7 for you?
Listen, there are all different types of models. Some people charge a concierge VIP for the entire year. I charge service fees for most of my clients, but not for a lot of my uber high net worth clients, because I'm not going to nickel and dime them for $500 a trip. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they're spending 200 or 100,000 or even 50,000. Like once you have a client, the idea of it charging a service fee kind of really got elevated during COVID, because we were working around the clock so much, and we're like, man, I'm charging for my fees because I just got zero out of that. I think that you really have to decide what your relationship is with that client. If you have a really good relationship with them and they're a steady buyer for you, I'm not one that's going to be like, hey, it's $500 or $800 to book with me every time you book with me, because I know I'm going to get the value out of that. You know, I'm charging fees on most of my aspirational clients to make sure that they do come with us and we're not wasting time. And you know what my biggest tip is that I'll say to people is like, hey, I'm going to waive this for you because we want a long-term relationship with you, with our company, and I think that you have to decide what the relationship is. Do we charge fees? Yeah, probably on 80% of our clients. But I'm really picky on a super high net worth person. They don't want to be nickel and dime. They're giving us great business. One of those Uber high
Yeah.
net worth clients yesterday who sold a tax company, a digital tax company. He spent about 475 with us last year with four, and four of them were private jet journeys. You know, he turned around and booked his kids at Turks and Caicos in a villa. Great. With beaches. That was a kind of a family thing. And then this week he was like, hey, do you want to do our company trip? 380 people, and so I'm not going to come back and go, oh my gosh, let me charge you $1,500 to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that. But you have to decide, you have to decide how locked and loaded you are. Cause I'm 100% all about fees, but I think you have to be very delicate with your high-end people with that, because they don't like to be nickel and dime. Where you want to charge your fees is in your $0 to probably, $30,000 clients who may suck your blood out of your body.
Like you mentioned, time is a resource, and the people who suck your blood tend to seem to suck the time. It seems to be sucking
and
your
on the high end, they don't suck a lot of your time out because they don't physically want to spend the time doing it. And so I find that an uber high net worth is very easy to work with, and you're just kind of getting it there. It gets signed fast. It's your low end people who are killing you. So low hanging fruit kills.
All right. So I want to ask about both sets of clients, but I have so many questions in the chat about this Uber high net worth clients, and I think we'll grab a couple more because I think this is really interesting. And it does seem like a population that advisors are aspiring to. Speaking of aspiring. So Angela, it seems like hearing you speak about your clients, it seems like you deal with a lot of them directly, but I have a couple questions, including this one from Tyra about, are you dealing with a staff? Are you dealing with a family office or a private management firm? Concierge services, or I guess too many of your high net worth clients have luxury and concierge services already through their office or through their firms?
Yeah, this is such a great question, Tyra, because it's all of the above. I'd say that there is a fair amount of my clients who it's worked through their private management, wherever their finances are done at, because the financial advisor wants to help. A lot of Uber high net worth people are on a budget too. In terms of a budget, their private management financial firm is saying, okay, you can spend $200,000 a year on travel or $300,000 a year. They have a number worked into the equation. And so you might be working with the client directly, but it's always going to go back to the private management firm for the money. Okay. So that's a great idea. Other places it is, you might be working through the secretary, the assistant, the daughter-in-law who runs the money. It's all of the above, and it's rarely the client. But I always do the face-to-face with the client first, because at the end of the day, and it's almost always, I hate to say it, it's almost always the man too. There's at the end of the day, a lot of men control what the travel plan is. In the younger, or not in the younger, but in the lower paid trips, 0 to 20,000, it's almost always the mom who's planning it. Spring break, or, the Christmas break, or the summer vacation. When it gets into the higher end brands, it almost all turns to male domination. And I don't know why. Well,
are you marketing to that, Angela? I guess these are anecdotal evidence from you, but clearly you're very successful. You've been doing this a long time. Are you marketing to find these uber high net worth male or is it just, you're just looking for that kind of avatar when it comes to the spend?
Yeah. I'm looking for the avatar when it comes to spend, but again, on that level, it almost comes always in as a referral. Okay. And here's the thing, you got to have human touch. It's not like you can run a Facebook ad. It's not like you can put it out there that you're looking for uber high net worth people, because a lot of times they're not even on social. You got to be in real life human interaction with these types of people. And so I'll put myself in a lot of things. And I've mentioned this before on your show. I think volunteering is a great way. So if you're like, oh, great, I don't belong to a country club, or I don't belong to a sailing club, or wherever some of these people might be hanging out, volunteering is like one of the best places to meet people, because a lot of people in the high end, travel sector also give back a fair amount of time and money, because that's part of their portfolio too. And they have to, get that tax write-off. And so I've met so many great people volunteering. So you're sitting there stuffing a food bag at a food bank for Thanksgiving. And what do you do? Oh, I'm in the travel business. What do you do? Well, I run this company, or, and you're just, so volunteering is like the gold mine of meeting people. Now be authentic. I don't want you to go volunteer. I want you to go volunteer because you love people and you want to give back, but you'll meet a lot of amazing people in that sector. If you're not already tied into a higher network of people. But you've got to be very aggressive about being human and having real interactions with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it does seem like, again, going back, I know they're comfortable with the spend, but the spend is so high, they have certain expectations, and it seems like a face-to-face actual person, actual personality is one of those expectations. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good piece of advice. Okay, so what about, I mean, I think we're going to spend a lot of this on the Uber high net worth client, but Angela, what about the aspiring luxury client? I know that's probably a segment you can market to more deliberately than you can the people who are spending $500,000 and above on travel. I mean, or have you seen anything new in how you're attracting them, or how other of your colleagues are attracting them? Any new marketing strategies or any new places to find those kinds of clients?
Yeah. So let's just give 3 points on them really quick. Again, they're seeking high-end comfort, but they're going to have a value conscious mindset with that. This is where you're going to really capitalize on like those VIP perks and those upgrades that they can't get booking directly that might come through your consortia, Virtuoso, or Internova.
Yeah.
They're going to be open to the luxury tours, the luxury cruises, the small ship cruises, the expeditions, and they're going to be less focused on that exclusivity, but more on the quality experience. So that's going to be a place that you're going to really try to like to build on, like, what value can you bring so they're not going to like book direct. And one of the selling points that I'll use with people is like, wow, I mean, your time's money. Most clients are spending 20 hours researching something before they call an advisor. So I'll always point out to people like, let us do your whole thing. I know that time is money for you because you probably spent 20 hours on this. Let us clear that up for you. And so the other thing is, I think that they're looking for the Instagrammable moments still.
Okay.
Because when we're talking aspiring luxury, that also can be not a Gen X, or I don't even know what gen we're on, the younger crowd.
I think
30,
are we
40.
past Gen Z?
I
Yeah,
don't
we've
know what gen
seen.
we're on, but I'm talking maybe your 30 to 45-year-old. That is a big segment of luxury travel. It's not always just 65 plus living in a community, going to a country club. You've got this younger generation of wealth now between 30 and 45 you could target on. And they're highly uninformed what a travel advisor can do, but they're shifting back to one because they want to save their time now. So I'd sell on time, energy, resources, and also Instagrammable moments, because that's a key factor in what that group is doing.
Yeah. So I think that group is, I see Cheryl said, I think Gen Alpha might be the next one or the latest one, but that group, Angela, I think it's the millennials. And I've spoken to a
Millennials,
couple of,
is that what we're on? Yeah.
yeah, I've spoken to a couple of executives over the last couple of weeks, and that I think more marketing and targeting the millennials, not just because they're the new generation, because they aren't anymore, but because they are the generation now very willing to spend a lot of their income on travel. It seems like that's going to become an intentional thing for the whole industry over the next few years. So I like how you were mentioning that.
And I think that
So
right there, you've got to really showcase your value driven
yeah,
experiences. And then in your messaging, you've got to really make it aspirational for people. You've got to position that luxury is attainable for them. And I think that's one of the key takeaways today. Whatever your messaging is, wherever you share it, everybody wants to be able to obtain that. So make it attainable for people.
all right. So if anyone, again, I want to get into something else right now, but if anyone
Mhm.
has any questions from Angela, go ahead, please drop them in the chat. We love taking questions. It really sort of enhances these. So I want to ask about artificial intelligence, because I know this not directly tied to luxury, but I know it's certainly a tool that you use and other luxury agency owners use. Can you tell us a little bit about what role AI plays in your modern luxury travel marketing? And maybe if you have any advice about other advisors marketing it or leveraging it effectively, I think that would be a good place to start.
Sure. And I feel like this is such a hot topic, and I want to be really bold on this. I was an early adopter back in 22 when it first came out. And I almost said to myself, like, how come everybody doesn't know about this? And now all of a sudden 24 comes along. A lot of people, there's this huge glow up with it, and 25 now, got a lot of mainstream people on it. Here's a word of warning to everybody. You either adopt now or die. And that is going to be the truth in the travel industry, because if somebody can jump on and plan a 10-day trip in Chat GPT with Michelin star restaurants and 5-star things in 45 seconds, this battleground of middle range agents who are just bouncing around trying to get someplace, you're going to be obsolete within 2 years. So this is where it's really important that you jump into this higher net worth space of people who are not going to do that. They might use that initially, but they still want somebody to handle all of their experiences. Okay. So one, you've got to learn how to use AI. You've got to be effective with it. And it's got to be more than just for emails. I love it for emails because you can type in 2 seconds, hey, clean this up. Hey, write an email for this, replace it with this. I'm so much more efficient with it. That means I can take on more business. Now, where you could really get creative with this and where it could really help you with your business, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, is, okay, first of all, it becomes kind of a virtual assistant for you. For things that you thought that you might need to hire out for, you can be a lot more efficient in doing that. So emails, low-key things like that. SEO, where you thought maybe you needed to hire an SEO person, or a lot of you are using it for social media posts. Those are easy things. But I mean, you could really replace like SEO. You could really replace a copywriter. Sorry, Dan. For easy things, for your ads, different things like that. But here's where you could really use it to be proactive. In your email segmentation and automation, you could create campaigns and adjust them to your client preferences. I've ran predictive analytics in there to see how a client might behave. I've even ran it to see what my company worth would be in 5 years doing, what if I wanted to sell my company? This was something that I ran a couple of weeks ago when I was in India, because I was with private equity investors, and the conversation was, how much is your company worth and what would you be willing to sell it for? And so I typed in the equation that the private equity fund would be looking at if they were to buy. And then I adjusted that based on different things. And so I could do a predictive analytic of what my company would be worth if X, Y, and Z happened,
So Angela, I guess just, I know so you're almost exclusively using Chat GPT. You're using Chat.
Well, there's so many different ones you could use. Like when I first got started, I used Jasper. They were super expensive. I mean, the price of AI has come down, so I mean, there's lots of good ones. I think now I'm Chat GPT because, I'm paying $40 a month or whatever with that, or 30 for 4.0.
Yeah, and I know that it offers a free plan. So if anyone's unsure about it, I see John in the chat saying that too. Use the Chat GPT free plan and see if it likes it, and then it'll limit you as you go on. It won't be the most up to date information, but if you pay, I think you said $40 a month, Angela, you can get everything pretty up to date.
And I don't even know if it's 40. I might be lying on that, but I feel like
I don't think it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. But here's the other thing. I mean, and here's a tool that, one little secret I'll tell you guys, like I'll screenshot things off of, like the other day on that Uniworld booking, I was like, screenshotted that, something off of their website, I dropped it into Chat. I said, clean this up and make it into, a readable bullet point thing for me. You're just saving so much time on things, and, text that over to somebody in 15 seconds during Sunday school. So,
I mean, we spoke about BranchUp in the beginning. We spoke about fees, sort of getting rid of people who are going to waste your time. It just seems like one of the themes of this conversation is how big of a resource time is for you, for your clients. And if you can save their time, they're going to trust you. If you use Chat or another program to save your own time, it's an incredible thing too. So it seems like thinking like that is going to be beneficial for advisors.
Yeah, you definitely have to get on board what your systems and tools are. And you need to make it seamless for you. And time is money. If you could be spending more time marketing and reaching out and being human and actually meeting people in real life instead of spending so much time behind the screen, then do it. Like, I would use any type of AI. Like, I'm investigating every single AI model that I can think of that could save us time and money.
Yeah. So Lisa, screenshots, you can just, I'm on a Mac. I can do a screenshot of us right now simply by clicking Command Shift 4. So screenshots are not part of the paid version. It's free version, just screenshot it. But I was hoping you could give us maybe one or two more or maybe one more like practical example, Angela, of how you used chat in the past couple of weeks and how that's saved you time. You mentioned the Uniworld booking, but is there another thing maybe you've done inside your business or even with a client that you feel like this is an effective use of this technology?
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about your numbers for a minute, because I think this would help a travel advisor. At the end of the day, most travel advisors don't know how much they want to make. They think like, oh, I want to sell luxury travel. You know, if I could just cover my kids' vacation next year, then, you start out as a new advisor and you're thinking like, if I could make X
Yeah.
amount of dollars to cover this much of my life, and then you start making some money. But most advisors don't make a lot of money in the business because they simply don't have an end goal on their finances. So one of the things I want to say is you need to get really crystal clear about your finances. Like if you want to make $100,000 next year, I want to know exactly how you're going to make that. Now, if you have your data from last year, because most advisors, I would suspect, don't even know their data, but I would break that down. And this is what I did. I went back and I dropped in all of my data from 2024 and 23 and 22 and 21 and said, create a graph. I want to see my growth. I want to see where I'm at. I want to see where I'm short. And that was a beautiful little moment for me in 45 seconds to see exactly where I was really trending and where I was falling back on. If you don't know what your number is at the end of the day, you're never going to be successful in this game.
I think that is, again, another conversation I've had pretty recently is exactly that, setting goals for yourself and working towards them as opposed to just working to be better. It seems like aspirational is a big word today too. It seems like you have to aspire to something. You need to set certain benchmarks for yourself and figure out how to get there. Work backwards. Figure out where you want to go and figure out the journey after the fact. Yeah. So many suggestions about AI in the chat too. We Brian Israel said ChatGPT Pro is about $20 a month now. So if that fits your budget, I think it's a good one to you. I don't want to go through these all, but just so everyone sees them, Voyager Social, I see a couple of people talking about. Toby is another one. A couple of people are talking about. Voyager Social, Toby, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So there's clearly so many choices, and we're like, in general, we're still on the beginning stages of this AI revolution. So I think a lot more are going to come out. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. So I don't know. I mean, my advice to advisors, Angela, would just be to try as many as you can, like you mentioned. Figure out which one is working for you, which one is easiest to use for you, which one is less time consuming and saving you the most time, and sort of shift your energy towards that one.
But I think the most important thing is, again, we're using that for efficiency tools, but also so is the consumer. And this is where I'm saying you've got to get better, get selling in the higher space, or you're going to get dissolved by people who can now really do it themselves really quickly. And so you've got to differentiate and make yourself valuable. You've got to sell yourself on value and helping people aspire to what they can become by using you or die.
It is interesting because I know when the internet was starting to pick up steam around the turn of the century, I know there was a worry in the travel advisor community that they would replace travel advisors with OTAs, with booking for yourself online. And I know there was a lot of fear around that time. It seems like, and maybe it's just because of where I
even born during that time. Let
me make my point. Well, it seems like, Angela, and I guess I'm asking for your experience. It seems like there's less fear around AI than there was back then. Like people seem to be willing to embrace AI as a tool.
Okay. In all honesty, when you said turn of the century, that just aged me dramatically. I was there. I was in my young 20s when that happened. And let me tell you the truth of the matter of that. 70% of the agencies went out of business during that decade. And so we think like, oh, maybe there's not that fear factor with it, but we're just on the beginning of it. I mean, when the internet, like I was getting my master's degree when the internet came out and people said like, oh, this is a trend. This won't last long. And I'm serious. This dates me back to like World War I. But here's what I want to say to you guys is like, it honestly, like there might not be the threat that everybody's going out of business, but I'm telling you, in 2 years, when somebody comes out and shows the general world how they can plan a trip this fast, hotels are using AI. Here's what I learned at Pier, because I sat with an AI specialist in Morocco at the Pier show. They were saying that AI now is that hotels are using AI to determine everything about that client so they can market better down to their DNA. Which is almost like a really scary thought process of what this could do. I mean, we're going to know our clients so well in there. Do I think that you're all going to be out of business in the next year or two? No. But what I'm saying is, like, get ahead of it. Like, you're in the, generally people come into the late trends of things. Like, I had people who were like, I'm not getting on the internet, like in the 90s. That's a trend. I'm like, oh my gosh. And like when digital cameras came out, again, dating myself, people were like, oh, I'm only using film. It's that good. Now, do you know anybody that hardly uses film versus a digital camera? No, but that's the thought process. So if you're thinking this is going away, it's not going away, and it's just going to get hotter and hotter. So I'm suggesting to you, get on board and do everything that you can with it to make yourself more efficient, but also use it to build yourself to make you better, because it will eliminate people. You just saw Facebook Meta eliminate their whole entire middle engineer team to AI. Okay. Who's going to be the rich in America now? Plumbers, electricians, and venture capitalists. There's not going to be this middle of the road group anymore.
Yeah. So I see a lot of questions in the chat about training on AI. I'm going to do my best to find a tech person to come on this program with us, hopefully this year, and maybe lead us through some of these practical examples of AI. I know, Angela, you mentioned a few, and if you want to rewatch this, you can, but I'm going to try to get someone who can do sort of a demonstration first. I promise for that. We don't have that much longer.
Okay.
I want to shift the focus away from AI, even though I see the comments, into sort of just, I guess, what's trending in the luxury industry, because I know knowing suppliers and knowing what is available and what's popular is going to be important for advisors. I was curious, Angela, if you could tell us a little about destinations that you're hearing from your clients. Like, are there any destinations that are gaining momentum or becoming part of this luxury world that advisors should definitely have on their radar?
Yeah. So I feel like in 25 right now, we're seeing some oddities. I just came from Colombia last week. Colombia and Panama are picking up steam. And it's interesting because you can go to Panama and stay in an overwater bungalow for a fraction of what you can do in Tahiti and Maldives. So that's a really great spot for an aspiring budget who wants that overwater bungalow experience. But Colombia, very sizzling right now, big city atmosphere. I don't want to keep using the word glow up, but we know that, like, Colombia has had its issues in the past politically. It's now thriving, and just a gorgeous location. I feel like Japan could not be stronger. I lived in Japan for 2 years. It used to be $30 for one watermelon there. With the yen right now against the US dollar being so weak, and you'll see that change. So this is a thing. I would really push Japan for your clients, because Japan is trying to make modifications so they have a stronger currency there. And you're going to see that happen probably over the next 16 months, if not sooner. And now's the moment. And that's why we can sell family travel there right now fairly cheap. I mean, people can afford to go there for the first time where the dollar is so strong. Other things super popular, Maldives, trending hot. Their prices are so much better than Tahiti, which is always popular in this space. Expedition cruising, we've talked about in the past on the show, but I'd say a lot of people now have done Antarctica and the Arctic, and now they're looking towards Greenland. I think is going to be very popular.
Okay.
And then river cruising, again, I think we're spreading out now of the European rivers. You're going to see that in Colombia, India, are two locations. I think, obviously we're hoping to get more people back to Egypt. It's still, looking good on the rivers there. It's just getting over that geographical location that makes it scary for people. So I think those are some good ones.
I have a question, Angela. This is something I've wondered a lot. Where do you place river cruise as a segment, and when it comes to luxury, ultra luxury, things like that? Because I know Celebrity announced their intention to join the river, and that seemed to open people's eyes to what river cruising could be. I'm curious. I mean, it seems like a segment that does cover a lot of populations. And is it a segment for you that you hear a lot about from your Uber high net worth clients?
Well, here's the thing. 10 years ago, river cruising was a luxury client thing. You know, if you river cruise, that means you've probably done the Mediterranean. I mean, there's a pattern. You do the French, Mediterranean, you might do Greece and Italy. And then that was kind of like the third place to Europe, like if you've grown up in the European itineraries. Now it's becoming very mass market for people. I had a lot of different feelings when Celebrity announced that because I feel like the rivers are very congested already. And I've been a big outspoken proponent of overpopulation on tourism. Now that's my professor side coming out, and have chimed in on a lot of national articles for that. And I heard some of them were even sitting in Greece in the government office, one with Travel Weekly, on overpopulation in Santorini that I had a loud voice in. So for me, I'm like, okay, I don't love that the rivers are integrating mass market river cruising into that, because I can't imagine a place like MELK, that's little town, bringing in 10 more ships. Like we already have so many with Viking, like that overpopulated Amsterdam to the max. Where does river cruising sit on? Back to the original question. Yes, there's a very luxury segment in that with Tauk, Uniworld, Scenic that still can be sold. And I'd say that many people have aspiration to do that in all categories, from mass market to uber high net worth. And I think this growth in the Christmas markets is crazy right now. And I've led to that. I mean, I go every single year and have been going for a decade. Now that's becoming its own trending piece. And so, we're having longer seasons too. I hope that we watch on overdevelopment. I mean, there's a lot of issues on that to talk about, but yes, that's a big piece.
Yeah, it seems like we're in the beginning of stages. Like we talk about the AI revolution, but there's more and more tourist tax on their way, and more governments are trying to figure out how to balance the money they need for tourism, which drives their economy, with also the need to respect the places they live. So I think there's going to be a lot of things put in place over the next, I'd say 12 to 18 months. And if I was a consumer, I would want an expert like you, Angela, and an expert like there's so many people on this call who would be able to tell me about a different destination I can go and have a great experience without worrying about over tourism or without contributing to those issues.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. I don't think I have many other questions, Angela, but I did want to ask about one more product that I'm getting so many press releases about. I'm getting so many beautiful pictures about, and that's over the water bungalows. I'm just curious, is that a product that your clients really love? Is that something it seems so special when I see the photos and hear about people's experiences in them, but I'm curious, is that a big seller for you? Is that something that's really hot with your clients?
Yeah, it's a super huge seller for us. I think every single person in their bucket list mind, and here's a really great tip for you guys, have your clients, and especially when you work in the higher end segments, have them do a 10-year list. I think I mentioned this last time I was on the show. Or, what's your top 10 trips? What do you have coming up? And I think that you'll find almost on everybody's list, somebody's got like, I want to do an overwater bungalow in Tahiti. They might not even be introduced to the Maldives. They may not know that they could even do that in Panama. I mean, we're building more all-inclusives that have overwater bungalows, even with like the Sandals brand and everything. But I think everybody has that moment of like, I want to be watching the sunset, swinging on some cabana, like, something out there, like overwater bungalow moment. Has the price been like extremely elevated? Yeah. I mean, I've seen Four Seasons Bora Bora at $4,500 a night. I want to die, and that's where you really need to know your products, because you could steer them to Maldives and do, probably a more value-driven trip for them. So yeah, I think that's on everybody's bucket list, but ask what their bucket lists are. And then you can target and drip content to them based on what they're interested in. That's a huge actionable takeaway, I think.
Yeah, everyone has goals when it comes. I know financial planners talk about this a lot. You need to figure out where your destination is, and we just talk about with the business and where you're going. Travel goals are like that as well. So I think that's a great place to start and a great thing to think about. Come up with your client's 5-year plan and figure out how to make it happen. So one thing, Angela, Jane says she has the same thoughts as you. She didn't know you before the webinar. I wanted to give you a chance. Where can people find you if they do want to hear more from you or ask you any questions.
So thanks. And Jane, I knew I was not that popular, so I'm glad that you verified that. I actually have a Facebook group called Luxury Travel Social Media and Marketing for Travel Advisors. I also have my host agency, luxuryhostagency.com. That our agency is tripsandships.com. We have advisors that work under our brand and also under their own brand. And then I'm on just social media, Angela Hughes. I'm right there. You can follow me, find me. And Instagram is also Angela Hughes. So.
All right, Angela, I really do.
Trips and Ships. Sorry.
Okay. I really do love to speak with you. I'm sure we'll see you back on this show this year, hopefully. But really, really a lot of insightful stuff, and I really do appreciate all of your time.
Yeah, thanks to you guys too. This has been great.
One thing I just want to mention is we'll be back March 6th. We're doing a topic on personalization, on how to personalize things for your clients, how to make sure that personalization is front and center when you're speaking with them. So please come back around that. We'll get you the link pretty soon. This whole session will be up later today. And last thing, I just want to thank BranchUp once more. I know Emery was unable to be with us today, but BranchUp, again, thank you so much for sponsoring today's session. And for everyone who came, thank you as well. And hopefully I'll see you on March 6th. So everyone take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.